The Hypnobirthing Toolkit is a complete hypnobirthing and birth preparation course helping you to go into the birth of your baby with confidence and positivity. It's completely self-paced with pre-recorded videos, presentations, audios, PDFs, plus monthly live classes. It's a more affordable and flexible way to learn hypnobirthing and help you have the positive birth experience you deserve. Follow the link in the description below to begin your positive birth journey today. Hello and welcome to the Bell Mama Hypnobirthing and Positive Birth podcast. My name is Ellie Waddington. I'm a hypnobirthing teacher, antenatal instructor and positive birth coach, and I'm here to help you go into the birth of your baby with a positive mindset. Every week I share my top tips, advice and amazing birth stories to help you go from fearful and anxious about your birth to positive and confident. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and let's get into this episode. Hi and welcome to another episode of the podcast. This week I'm joined by Daisy, who's talking to us all about her journey with pregnancy loss and how finding hypnobirthing and mindfulness helped her mindset with her subsequent pregnancies. So, hi Daisy, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Hi, morning.
Hello. So could you please just start off by introducing yourself, who you are, where you are, what you do, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm Daisy. I am a hypnobirthing and childbirth coach. I split my time quite drastically between Tel Aviv and Newbury in West Berkshire. So I run courses across both locations and online. I have 3 little boys who are 9, 6, and 3. So we have quite the madhouse going on, but it's all a good kind of mad.
So your little boy's living out in Tel Aviv at the moment?
Yes, they are. All 3 of them are here and
Yeah.
one school and nursery here.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And do you have a support network out there?
My husband's family are here, and we've got very old friends around. So yeah, not a massive support network, but enough.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So you are going to talk to us today about your journey with your pregnancy loss and how that then affected your subsequent pregnancy. So if you would like to just basically start from the beginning and just start telling us your story.
Sure. Yeah. So I experienced my journey with loss was with my second pregnancy. So I already had my little boy Logan. We found out when he turned 2, we found out I was expecting again. And, we were obviously just super excited. You know how it is, you get pregnant, you instantly start imagining that life with them. And it really felt different this time because we were imagining Logan being a big brother and sort of how it would be to be extending our family like that. So we were over the moon, very, very excited. I was having quite a smooth first trimester, which now I've gone through 3 pregnancies that continued, I can sort of see as unusual for me because I do suffer in the first trimester. But anyway, I thought I was getting lucky this time around. So we had a great first few weeks, very excited. We told a few very close friends. We were actually going on holiday with a group of 2 other families who had children the same age as my son. So we told them, we told my family, and we were just really enjoying the process, feeling like everything would go how it did with my first pregnancy. When we went off on holiday, we were in Florida with our friends, and exactly when I hit 12 weeks gestation, I started to bleed fairly heavily. And I think really instantly I knew that this was really not right. We sort of tried to remain optimistic that some people can experience bleeding in pregnancy, but really my gut was telling me that for me, this wasn't right. And it was really, really difficult because we weren't at home. We were overseas. We really didn't know where we needed to go to sort of find some medical help and advice and find out what was going on. And I'm not sure if I was trying to be in denial or trying to not make a fuss. But I was like, no, I'm fine. I can wait. We'll just wait till we get home, which was about another 5 days. And my very kind friends and one of them who had actually experienced a loss, really encouraged me to go and try and have a scan to find out, what was happening, which was a really good call, because I would have felt just so anxiety ridden if I hadn't have gone at that point and found out, and if I had just tried to carry on with the trip. So luckily we had travel insurance, and very luckily that covered us for any pregnancy complications. So we went to an emergency healthcare centre. They did a scan, and at that point they confirmed that the fetus, the baby, had stopped growing at 6 weeks. So we had what was called a missed miscarriage. So the baby stops developing, but the body doesn't really realize and carries on with the pregnancy. And it was, until that point, it was one of the just most dreadful moments of my life. I was just devastated. My poor doctor was in tears because she had recently gone through a loss herself. So it was extremely fresh and raw for her as well. My husband was amazing and trying to just talk me through it and, reassure me and help me feel better. But he was experiencing the heartache as well. And I just felt just devastated, just really, really devastated. Anyway, there wasn't really much they could do for us there. They did want us to come back for more scans, etc. But because we were going home in a few days, we decided not to. We just sort of had to wait for my body really to catch up to what had happened. So we went home, told our friends. They were very wonderful. And luckily we were with a group of really supportive people. And we had quite a difficult journey home because I was quite uncomfortable. But we got home, went to our local early maternity assessment unit, and they did confirm at that point that the baby wasn't viable and had stopped growing at 6 weeks. And we could choose whether we wanted them to help us remove the baby or just wait for it to pass naturally for a few days. So I decided to wait. And I think about a couple of days later, my body just passed it on its own. We kind of said our little goodbyes and put it in a special spot in the garden, and then tried to carry on. It was a very, very difficult time because I had my 2-year-old son who didn't understand why mummy was sad or why mummy was in pain. And I had sort of all the emotions going on afterwards. I sort of woke up every morning with this like gutted feeling that this is reality, that this was happening, this sort of life that I had been picturing like wasn't going to happen at the moment, and that little baby wasn't going to be joining us. And I also felt a lot of anger, I think, at my body. And I think it was around the fact that it was this miscarriage, that the baby had stopped growing and my body hadn't realized. And I just sort of felt really angry and let down by it, that it had not known what was going on, or, not been able to. I felt like it was my body's fault. Like that was how I was feeling at that time. Felt like it was my body's fault, which, rationally speaking, I knew wasn't the case. I knew it was really common. All those things. And you can try and speak to yourself in that way, and other people might be, but it doesn't really change how you're feeling in that time. And it actually took me quite a while to start to feel better. And one day I was out so that was in the June, and in the September I was out for dinner with my girlfriends. And, we were talking, and there were 6 of us sitting around had gone out for this meal. And out of the 6 of us there, 4 of us had experienced a pregnancy loss. And I was so sad for them that had been a part of their experience, but I felt comforted as well that you're really not alone going through this experience. It does feel a very, very lonely experience in the moment. And then when I opened up more and spoke to them, I first of all saw that sitting around that table, it was far more than the 1 in 4 statistic that we're sort of told. And I also was comforted by them not having the same experience, but understanding how I was feeling, and being able to sort of empathize and really be there for me, having gone through it themselves. And also, I think I was looking at families with their 2 or 3 children and sort of thinking, well, look at them, look at them. That's so easy for them. Why did it happen so perfectly for them? And then I had to kind of remind myself, you don't know their story. You've no idea actually what that family have been through to get to those 2 or 3 or 1, however many children. It's very, very easy to just presume once you see a family that they've had a really easy, straightforward journey. And it was a important reminder to me that you really don't know what anyone's going through or has been through. And so slowly I started to feel better. I was very, very lucky I had my son as a great distraction. I also had friends who had experienced loss and then had their child, and I focused very strongly on that, reminding myself if they hadn't had their initial loss, they wouldn't have that child that they had now. So I was, focusing my mind on that. And then in the December of that year, so about 5 or 6 months later, after we experienced our miscarriage, we found out we were expecting again. And that was very complicated, time. It felt really complicated. I was overjoyed. I was really excited. But very, very quickly, the sort of worry and anxiety kicked in those early weeks.
Yeah. So once you sort of discovered that you were pregnant again, you had a range of different emotions because you were obviously remembering what had happened previously. So at what stage did you discover hypnobirthing, and how did that sort of start to help with your mindset? Did you do hypnobirthing with your first birth?
I didn't do hypnobirthing with my first birth. So hypnobirthing sort of came to me because of experiencing the loss and because I knew I needed to be preparing differently. I sort of know I needed to be doing this pregnancy differently. When I found out I was pregnant with Ozzy, with my second son, I had quite a deep distrust in my body at that point. I really didn't trust it to either carry the pregnancy or to know if something was wrong. Or for me, I felt like as the mother, I should know if things were right or wrong. I felt so anxious up until the 12-week scan. And then we found out, baby was growing, had a heartbeat. Things felt a little easier after that. But I still felt very, very anxious. And I was sort of holding myself back from being able to connect with the pregnancy and with the baby. It's like I was trying to protect my mind from going through what I went through last time. And then as the pregnancy progressed, I knew I needed to change that. I really wanted to be able to enjoy the pregnancy. I wanted to be connecting with my baby. And I stumbled. I don't even remember how. I think I was probably in a bookshop and I stumbled across a book called A Mindful Pregnancy. And it was written by an ex-monk who studies mindfulness, but he had specifically written about it in regards to pregnancy. So having a mindful pregnancy. And I read it, and it really, really helped me focus on the now. It really helped me remain in the present moment, focus. And there was a chapter in it on pregnancy after loss. And it had some really helpful tools on just remaining present and remaining in the now, and reminding myself that we can't predict the future, but I can focus on right now. And right now, everything was fine. Right now, my baby was growing. And then I started to feel him moving, and things got easier as it went along. But from that book, I think that was sort of the first time really in my life I had given any attention to any kind of mindfulness, or how our minds can kind of impact, how we're feeling. And so I decided to sort of look into it a little bit more. What else could I do to help myself feel calmer? And that's then how I discovered. So I probably was Googling like how to feel calmer in pregnancy. And that's how I came across hypnobirthing. And I first of all read a book. And when I was reading this book, honestly, it just changed everything for me. The whole way through, I was going, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Yeah, oh, that makes so much sense. How did I not know that before? It's just like light bulb, light bulb, light bulb, light bulb all the way through. It just made such logical sense to me. And yeah, so that's how I found it. And then I just sort of got more and more into it and tried to learn more and more and more. And it really, really changed. It really, really changed the birth experience, but it also really, really changed how I allowed myself to connect to the baby in pregnancy and connect and feel the trust come back into my body, build my confidence again around being able to grow my baby and being able to birth my baby. And all of the tools that you do in hypnobirthing were really, really important, because I would still have those anxious times. And I think that's really, really normal for any pregnancy, but especially when someone's experiencing a pregnancy after a loss. There are sort of certain triggers that you go through during pregnancy, like scans, antenatal appointments where she's listening to the baby's heartbeat, things like that, where I could feel myself getting worked up, getting more anxious. And the hypnobirthing techniques, like the breathing, even listening to a track in the waiting room, things like that, really, really helped me to feel much, much calmer and to then be more present in those moments. And be able to enjoy them more.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. And I was just thinking that it's really important that we do speak more about baby loss, because obviously you were saying that you only discovered by chance that your friends that you all had experienced loss, and you had sort of no idea about that beforehand. And I think there is this kind of idea that when we're preparing for positive birth and hypnobirthing, that we can't ever mention negative things, that we can't talk about the bad things. And that kind of gives this skewed idea that there's nothing bad happening,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, pregnancy loss is a really, really difficult part of life, but it is a part of life, and it's an experience many of us have gone through. And for me, it's an experience many of my clients have gone through. So me being open about it, which it has only come over time. Like I've been very, very protective of myself over talking to this, that the baby that we lost would have been 7 now. So it's been quite a long time. But me being open about my experiences, it's almost like it's allowed them to feel like they're okay to feel anxious at times, or still feel sad at times about the loss, even though they're now expecting and excited about their baby. I don't know why it's still this kind of taboo. It goes with the whole, don't tell anybody you're pregnant until you're 12 weeks. There's this sort of whole culture around it, isn't there? But people who have experienced it or are experiencing it, one of the biggest things that helps is having support and having someone that they really, really trust that they can speak to about it. And in the next pregnancy, being able to say, I'm feeling really scared, or I'm feeling really anxious because of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And also important for other people that aren't experiencing it to also know how to be around people that have experienced pregnancy loss. Because when people don't talk about it and it's kind of seen as this thing that doesn't happen to many people and it's taboo, and then you do come across someone that experienced loss. I mean, I know me certainly, I suddenly am, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to be around them. I don't know what's okay to say. Am I allowed to ask about their baby and things like that? But if we talk about it more, then it helps your support network to know how to support you and what they can do to make you feel supported.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree that people don't know what to say. No one wants to upset anybody ever, do they?
Yeah.
We don't do that. So sometimes to avoid that, we sort of think, well, I just won't say anything. But not always, but most of the time people want to talk about it. They want, that baby existed. At whatever point that loss happened, that baby existed for them. And it is it is a very, very important part of their journey. And they want that baby to be remembered. So when they are ready to talk about it, it's really, really helpful and can feel really healing to them to be able to. And it can also really help them navigate any other pregnancies by sort of speaking about it. And a lot of the time when we're feeling anxious or feeling scared or feeling fearful, even just saying it out loud helps, doesn't it? Like with any type of fear or anxiety we have, just saying it and hearing yourself say it sometimes can help you either process it or realize, okay, this isn't actually something I need to be so scared about, or maybe it is and I need to find someone external who can help me. But really the first thing is just acknowledging it and saying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it is important that we do carry on having these discussions like this. And hopefully this podcast episode, even if this helps just one lady that's been through this similar journey, then that's a great thing.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
So how did your birth go then with your Aussie, with your lovely rainbow baby? How did your birth go?
So my birth with Ozzy was as different as could be from my first. He was very late. He was 10, well, not very, but he was 10 days past 40 weeks. I was feeling very pregnant. And I got a phone call at 40+9 saying, we've got a bed free. Do you want to come in for an induction? And I said, no, thank you. Do you know what? Everything's fine. I want to give him a bit more time. And the very next day, I went into labor. With my first, I didn't realize that I could just do what I needed to do. I didn't realize I could just do things my way. And with Ozzy, it was very different. So we got to the birth center. My midwife was lovely, showed us to a pool room. She offered me a vaginal examination, but I was quite far into labor and didn't want to get into that position. So just said no thanks. And she was like, fine. And she really just stood back and let me labor how I needed to labor. And I didn't lie down on the bed once. I moved around the room. I had my hypnobirthing tracks playing, my husband nearby. And I really just felt all on my own, which is what I wanted. I wanted to feel in my own little labor bubble. And he was born within 5 hours in the water, this beautiful, chunky baby. And I just felt like I was the most incredible woman that had ever existed ever in the history of all humans at that time. And it really, really affected my time as a new mum again, having a birth experience like that, which is one of the things that I took away from hypnobirthing. It wasn't just about a birth experience. It was about everything that follows that birth experience. And I just felt so much more confident and calmer and sort of connected to him much quicker. It's my coffee machine. Sorry, can you hear that? So it was amazing. It was just really a wonderful, empowering, incredible experience. It wasn't easy. But it was the most incredible sort of thing I've ever been through.
Yeah. And you say it wasn't easy, and this is kind of how I describe my birth as well with my daughter, is that it wasn't easy, but it was simple. Like there's a difference between simple and easy, It was very simple and straightforward, but birth is never easy, is it? It's a lot of hard work. It's very intense.
Yeah, I know. I always say it's called labor for a reason. It's not about having an easy birth. But I felt at all times I felt like I understood what was happening. I sort of felt in control of my body. I felt loved and supported, and respected, and very, very much just allowed, not allowed, but empowered to do what it was that I needed to do to birth that baby.
Yeah. And that's all we want from a birth journey, isn't it? We just want to feel like that's our space, that we're in charge of that space, and the people around us are there to support us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
So, do you just want to talk a little bit about your services before we sign off? Sort of if people want to work with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, sure. So they can find me on Instagram, Daisy Blumberg, Hypnobirthing. Just I share a lot about obviously pregnancy, birth, mum life, mum with 3 little boys. So they can just come and see. I always put my courses on there. I have in-person courses in Newbury in West Berkshire. I have in-person courses here in Tel Aviv, and I'm always running courses online, both group and private. So if they prefer to sort of stay in their pajamas and work, with me when they're still at home, you can do that. Yeah. And so, yeah, just come and have a look at my Instagram, say hello, see what I've got going on, and if there's anything you want to join me with.
Perfect. I'll put all of your contact details in the show notes below, so anyone listening, they can find you that way. And before we stop recording, if there is a lady out there going through this similar sort of journey, do you have any kind of one piece of advice for her, any sort of thought before we sign off?
One piece of advice is hard. But yeah, I would say, first of all, I would speak to somebody. Even if it's just one person, if it's your partner or a friend or a sister, whoever it is, speak to somebody about how you're feeling, keep the conversation going, be really honest and open about how you are feeling. And I very, very strongly recommend looking into mindfulness of some kind. So it could be guided meditations, it could be learning mindfulness and staying in the present moment, it could be through hypnobirthing, whichever way works for you. But I very strongly recommend it for a pregnancy journey after you've suffered a loss, for sort of helping your anxiety and confidence and allowing you to connect to this pregnancy.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Daisy. This has been an absolutely amazing chat.
Thank you for having me.